peaceful if you guys get out of here and you guys come out with weapons, gas masks, batons, riot gear.
Protests and arrests in Cottonwood Heights. What caused this situation to escalate and the demands from protesters.
I know people in the plane had a family, and I wanted to do anything I could to help them.
2 men dead after a plane crash in Cedar City, the 4th deadly plane crash this summer in Utah. Hear from one man who witnessed the wreck and how he described the moments afterward.
And again, breaking records all over the state in Salt Lake City, tying a record for the hottest 3 consecutive days. Can we make it day number 4? I'll let you know the forecast.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
First on Fox 13, tensions boiling over tonight in Cottonwood Heights as 9 people were arrested after a peaceful protest escalated.
That protest started around 4:30 this afternoon at the Mill Hollow Park, and that's where Fox 13's Elle Thomas joins us live tonight. Elle.
Yeah, hey Brian and Kirsten, a much different scene than what we saw here just a few hours ago, where there were a number of protesters and officers fighting, pepper spray, and those 9 arrests. Now, we did put together a compilation of some of the moments that we saw this afternoon. A warning, it may be intense for some viewers.
But this is what we get.
Cottonwood Heights police say today's protest resulted in 9 arrests and 3 cars having been impounded. You can see in the footage many physical fights taking place. Police say a number of their officers were hit, leading the protesters to be pepper sprayed and even tased. Cottonwood Heights police say they knew about the protest and were here to ensure they were not blocking the street for the residents in the neighborhood. They say they instantly started telling the protesters to move to the sidewalk, and that's when things got more aggressive. This did start as a peaceful protest supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and the push for police reform, this time focusing on Zane James, a man who was shot and killed by police here in Cottonwood Heights almost exactly 2 years ago. Officers say James had a silver handgun that was later determined to be a pellet gun. He was accused of robbing 2 grocery stores a few hours apart in Sandy. Zane's father says the group was going to walk past the spot where their son was killed. That's when the protest escalated. Zane's father was taken into custody.
And then they just tackled Zane's father, who's lost his son.
We're trying to use our police as a multi-purpose tool, and they're trying to use themselves as military enforcers, and the two just don't mix.
Now, protesters were pushed back to the very place where they started, right here at Mill Hollow Park. Around 7:30 is when they finally cleared out after spending a little bit longer chanting and continuing their protest. Now, this is the same group of protesters that holds demonstrations throughout the valley every Sunday. Live in Cottonwood Heights, Elle Thomas, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now to our other top story tonight. 2 men are dead after a plane crashed just south of Cedar City.
The 2 men, ages 52 and 63, were on their way to land at Cedar City Regional Airport when the plane crashed into a large communication tower.
Fox 13's Spencer Joseph spoke with a man who watched that plane go down and saw the aftermath of the crash.
Ty Wood shared his thoughts with me this afternoon when he was seeing the plane going lower and then crashing into the tower, coming to rest in the field behind me. Now, he also shot some video right when he first arrived on scene, and a warning to some viewers, this video may be disturbing. At 8:45 Sunday morning, just before the plane crashed, Ty Wood and his family were headed to breakfast.
I noticed the plane flying low, but it's not really out of the ordinary around here, I guess. And as I looked back, he was really dropping.
The plane was getting close to a 300-foot tower near his home.
I looked over and the tower was just crumbling. So I put the car, flipped around, and went over there as fast as we could.
This is what he saw when he arrived.
It is a pretty decent sized plane.
It's decent size?
Yeah.
Calling 911 to get them on scene.
Do you see anyone around it? Can you hear anyone?
No.
They were there within 3 minutes on scene.
Wood tried to save the lives of the 2 on board, but was too late.
It's a lot to process, the whole thing, but I'm glad I was able to be there and render some help and get the authorities there.
You know, we are very saddened about this, whether they're residents of Iron County or not, but our thoughts and prayers are with the families of these men.
The Iron County Sheriff's Office was at the scene late into the afternoon, still gathering whatever they could.
and we are trying to notify the next of kin and in the process of making sure that's done.
Wood is still trying to process his firsthand experience with the crash.
That I know the people in the plane had a family, and I wanted to do anything I could to help them. I have a family, and I hope somebody would do the same for me.
And shared this message when he was asked what he took away from what he saw.
Hold your loved ones tight.
The plane, we're told, is a North American Navion, similar to some World War II fighters. It took off from Alton, Utah, and was scheduled to land here just after 8:40. Now, the NTSB and the FAA are taking over the investigation, and they will be the ones to determine what actually brought this plane down. In Cedar City, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
7 plane crashes have turned deadly in Utah since July of last year, including today. 4 of those crashes have happened this summer alone, killing 12 people altogether.
It was on the afternoon of June 25th when an experimental plane was destroyed after it crashed into a field west of Legacy Parkway. Both the pilot and the passenger, retired Davis County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Sorensen, were killed.
On July 3rd, a Cessna 172 went down in American Fork Canyon. That took the lives of 4 people, among them former Major League Baseball pitcher Tyson Brummett.
And then last week's plane crash in West Jordan, where a Piper PA-32R crashed into a backyard, damaging 3 homes, killing 4 people. Turning now to some of the bigger fires burning in Utah. Crews keeping a close eye on 3 right now.
The Pine Hollow fire on the southern border has scorched over 11,000 acres. It is 15% contained. A portion of Highway 89 and BLM land in the area, both on the Utah and Arizona side, are closed.
The Upper Provo fire burning more than 300 acres and is 5% contained. Murdoch Basin Road and Broadhead Meadows Road are both closed.
And in San Pete County, the Hollow fire, now up to 1,400 acres, but is at 40% contained. Fire crews focusing on extinguishing some heat sources within the fire lines today.
And not ideal conditions for fire crews out there. It is dry, it is hot. Breck Bolton showing us the record-breaking temperatures that we're seeing throughout the state today.
That's right. Make it 3 days in a row, where as we look in Salt Lake City, the official high today, 105 degrees, with the previous record being on 103, set back in 1992. So getting that opportunity once again, 3 consecutive days where we found record-breaking temperatures. Friday was a 104. Yesterday was 105, getting there once again today. And it wasn't just Salt Lake City in the mix. Several locations looking at record temperatures, either tying or breaking the record, like at Alpine. Looks like you got to the century mark where the previous record set back in 1977 at 99 degrees. Tying the record in Bryce, tying a record also in Hanksville. Look at Ogden, though, smashing the record. Previous record, 98 degrees. We got up to 104, 105 in Provo, and Wendover also seeing a record. Now, looking at the history books, as far as finding temperatures at 104 degrees or more for 3 consecutive days, it's only happened 3 times, and we got it here in 2020. Let's just add on another situation here to make 2020 more memorable. As we look across the state, triple digits in many spots. We got up to 104 in Logan, 100 degrees in Price. Remember that record in Provo was Provo BYU. This is at the airport at 102 degrees. 102 in Milford, 107 in St. George. We still find temperatures in the upper 80s for most of the spots along the Wasatch Front. Currently 87 degrees in Price. We've got mid-90s in Green River, close to still 100 degrees in St. George's. We're going to be looking at clear skies here tonight. So not a lot of moisture. It has been dry. Few high clouds in southeastern Utah, now moving away. As we look across northern Utah, you can see no activity from radar, so mostly clear is your forecast for tonight, with overnight lows dipping down into the low 70s. So starting off tomorrow morning, we're in the 70s, but we've got triple digits on the map once again. When do we see a break, though? I'll let you know coming up.
Look forward to that. Thank you, Breck. Taking a look now at today's COVID-19 numbers. Utah has 473 new cases, bringing us to more than 41,000 in total. Also, 1 new death, a woman over the age of 65 who passed away at a long-term care facility. We have a rolling 7-day average of 447 new cases per day, with 10% of people testing positive through lab tests.
While cases are still trending slightly downward, we also saw the deadliest week during the pandemic thus far in Utah. Since last Sunday, we've seen 37 COVID-19 related deaths in the state. 20 of those deaths were in Salt Lake County, 5 of them in Juab County, a recent hotspot. It's also worth noting that we have seen fewer new infections over the past 7 days. There was a smaller testing pool statewide. Utah Department of Health reporting 31,000 COVID-19 tests being administered this past week alone. That's a decrease in the number of tests between July 19th and 26th, when 42,000 people were tested over that 7-day period.
And the Navajo Nation continues to be hit hard by the coronavirus. As of Saturday, 13 new cases and 4 new deaths were reported. That puts the Navajo Nation at over 9,000 total cases and 460 total deaths. Kayenta and Shiprock, the 2 Navajo areas that extend into Utah, have a combined positive case count of almost 2,700.
A man was caught in a boat propeller at Utah Lake this afternoon. Utah State Parks telling Fox 13 the 35-year-old man was kneeboarding when the boat got a little too close to pick him up. His shorts became tangled. The man only suffered a few lacerations. He was transported to the Utah Valley Hospital, but is expected to make a full recovery.
Another chapter in the Utah Republican Party's long-running civil war has ended. The Utah Court of Appeals rejected the appeal of a lawsuit by some who were members of the party's state central committee. They sued another former member, alleging he'd made disparaging comments about them online. Well, those comments centered around a vote that threatened to kick candidates out of the Republican Party if they gathered signatures to get on the ballot. The appeals court says the comments could not be construed as an accusation of illegal activity.
Still to come, 2 missing Idaho children found dead in his backyard. Soon, Chad Daybell will face a judge once again. What we're expecting from the courtroom tomorrow and who might testify.
Plus, Utah families in need will soon be able to get a helping hand during this pandemic. We'll show you how.
Could the upcoming college sports season be in jeopardy? I'm John Franke in Salt Lake City. I'll explain the demands being made by some student athletes that they say must be met before they take the field.
This is Fox 13 News.
This week, Chad Daybell, the man whose backyard was the place where the remains of J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan were found almost 2 months ago, is set to face an Idaho judge for the very first time in person. Daybell is charged with 2 counts of destroying or concealing evidence after the gruesome discovery of his wife Lori Vallow Daybell's children at his home. This latest hearing will be a preliminary hearing. It's set to take place over 2 days. Court documents confirm that several FBI special agents have been called to testify. Meantime, Lori Vallow Daybell is set to have her preliminary hearing next week on August 10th. Our partners at Court TV will be in the courtroom, and we will have coverage of the hearing tomorrow on Fox 13 News, as well as on our social media pages.
Millions of dollars will soon be turned over to help Utah families in need. The Utah Department of Workforce Services will be launching a pandemic EBT food assistance application. It's going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Families whose children are currently receiving supplemental nutrition assistant program benefits like free or reduced meals at school will automatically receive pandemic EBT. All other eligible families will need to apply before August 31st. Well, the coronavirus pandemic is forcing many changes to the upcoming college football season.
Yeah, now a new threat could doom it before players line up for the opening kickoff.
Fox 13's John Franke shows us why some Pac-12 athletes are threatening to walk out on the season.
The Utes' first home game is set for here at Rice-Eccles on October 10th. But some Pac-12 athletes say they're willing to sit out this season if some compensation and health demands aren't met. This is the page that got the hashtag #WeAreUnited trending Sunday morning. The Players Tribune website posted a list of demands with the author named only as players of the Pac-12. The piece begins with 15 reasons for the athletes joining together. One reads, because NCAA sports exploit college athletes physically, economically, and academically, and disproportionately harm black college athletes, we are united. Another says, because we should not be stuck with sports-related medical expenses, including COVID-19 related expenses, we are united. That list is followed by 4 groups of demands, ranging from COVID safety standards to student athletes' pay. The group calls for Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott, school administrators, and coaches to take a pay cut to prevent sports from being dropped amid the economic crisis. They also propose hiring a third party to address injuries in athletes' health. And on the issue of compensation, the players say they want the conference to split its revenue down the middle, sharing 50% with student athletes. According to numbers released by the Pac-12 in July, the conference raked in more than $500 million in 2019. The players want a piece of that pie. While no individual athletes are named in the demands, U defensive lineman Nick Ford posted this statement on Twitter supporting the movement. He said, quote, "I just want safety for me, my brothers on other teams, and coaches alike. We are not just a football team and entertainment." Ford is not alone. Several other members of the Utah football team retweeted support for the cause. The authors of the demands claimed they'll opt out of playing games unless an agreement can be reached. When asked for a comment, the Pac-12 sent me a statement. It said it has not been contacted by the group, but supports student-athletes using their voice. You can read that full statement on our website. In Salt Lake City, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, it's always fun to break a record, right? But is this the 3-day record break that we wanted to break here? People could use a little relief.
I know, but we did it. Yeah, we always talk about individual records, individual day records, but we're talking a streak, a really intense heat wave that has been enveloping the state, and we're seeing that impact as we look across northern Utah. Again, mentioning that we reached 105 degrees in Salt Lake City, previous record set back in 1992 and 103 degrees. So as we look from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this was the temperatures. Again, Friday we were at 104, 105 yesterday, 105 degrees today. So that's the 3-day record, at least tying it as we look at 3 consecutive days where, again, in 2020, hottest 3 temperatures in a row. There you go. The last time we experienced something like that was back in 1994 between July 26 and 28. So, yeah, this is once in a quarter of a century situation. Again, only seeing it one other time. So tying that heat wave. And let's talk about the possibility of riding on this heat wave moving into the work week. Looking at current conditions, though, right now, looking at a beautiful moon there with temperatures in the upper 80s. We're going to find calm conditions. We're going to keep it clear overnight. And looking across the state, we don't have any wind concerns currently. But as we move tomorrow, we start to see winds picking up just a bit. But here are all the watches and warnings across the state, most of it associated with, once again, the heat, where as we look for tomorrow, keeping that excessive heat warning in effect, as you see, going from Lake Powell over towards Kanab into St. George as well, looking with temperatures anywhere between 105 to 110 degrees. Now, heat advisory also being extended until Monday evening, where Wasatch Front, Salt Lake and Tooele Valleys through central Utah, western Utah, kind of in that 100 degree to 105 degree temperature range. But in addition, we've added on a fire weather warning, all associated with winds picking up, and because it's been so hot and has been so dry, not a good situation for ingredients to cause any fires or to really not help out the situation with the wildfires that are burning across the state. Let's take a look at our future windcast, though. Moving the clock here tonight through tomorrow. Again, it looks like it'll be fairly calm until we hit the morning hours. We start to see those winds picking up. Now, there's not a strong wind event. It's not a wind advisory in place, but sustained or persistent winds and breezes anywhere between 10 to 20 miles per hour with the potential of seeing wind gusts of 30 miles per hour. That is a concern. In combinations, we're seeing these low humidities, single digits, teens across most of the state. And of course, battling the blazes in these temperatures would not be fun, and we don't want to have that situation. We want to definitely get a handle on the fires that are burning and not start any additional fires. Now, looking across the state, it is dry, hardly any clouds. That high pressure in its position still right across the state of Utah. It begins to move eastward, and the reason we're seeing these winds pick up is because a cool front is approaching. It's going to get here late tomorrow through Tuesday, bringing in that cooler air, and then a second wave pushing through, which will allow temperatures to drop, actually getting below normal slightly as we look towards the end of the week. So for tonight, it's mostly clear. Overnight lows in the 70s, 50s in Park City, mid-60s in Price, low 70s in St. George. We'd like to have some cooler overnight temperatures. When we can get down in the 60s, we open up our windows. It feels a lot better. We get there. It's going to take a couple of extra days. For tomorrow, we're not breaking records. Close, triple digits expected in Salt Lake City, Provo as well. Upper 90s in Price, 100 degrees in Milford, still toasty in St. George at 107 degrees. We don't let go of those triple digits in St. George. We'll keep it mostly clear. It's also sunny on Wednesday. Don't know what happened there, but no threat of any rain. 101 by Friday, Saturday at 102 as well. Northern Utah, we're looking at 90s, at least mid to upper 90s, and then low 90s Thursday, Friday. So definitely on a cooling trend. One more day with triple digits, then we start to see a slow break, but by the end of the week, it will feel a lot better. Just not bringing any rain, but let's at least get rid of the heat.
And you were recommending people go outside for a run, what, midnight tonight? tonight?
Midnight, 1 a.m., 1:30. Good time.
Nice to have a cool off, yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, Breck.
Some good advice. Still ahead, overcrowding at Utah reservoirs. What local leaders are doing to relieve some of the problems coming with those crowds.
And a friendly reminder for you, Fox 13 News now streaming live on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. You can always watch our newscasts on demand and just go to your channel store. Search for KSTU Fox 13. Install the free app today. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 13 News. Let's connect.
Welcome back. During the pandemic, Utah reservoirs are seeing more traffic than ever, and crowds are bringing some problems with them.
Officials in the Ogden Valley noticed the overcrowding concerns. Now they say additional parking at popular reservoirs will serve as a short-term fix. Fox 13's Katya Collins explains the solution.
During a heat wave, it's really the only thing that sounds refreshing. Throw in a pandemic, and it's a race to the reservoirs. Only to find out you're not the only one with a bright idea.
It's gotten so crowded because it's so popular that there's nowhere to park.
And with COVID-19 shortening the list of possible options,
it's never been something that we really had an issue with before, but now it's become an issue. And, you know, parking on the dam and finding places to park up here is now a problem.
So much of a problem.
The public let us know. We knew, firsthand what it was just by the number of tickets that we were forced to give out. I think it's directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic, that people want to be out. They want to be out recreating, and the, opportunities, choices they have are somewhat limited.
Now local leaders are stepping in to help out.
We've been looking at options for the past year in terms of increasing parking at Causey and also at Pine View.
Finally, construction is underway. The plan includes a new dirt parking lot at the south of the Causey Reservoir, the expansion of the already existing Skull Crack lot, and an emergency search and rescue ramp.
As the population grows on the Wasatch Front, all of these recreational areas are going to be, utilized. I mean, we have the population on the front, and this is their backyard.
Weber County and the Forest Service also have plans to develop 2 additional parking lots at Pine View Reservoir in hopes to keep recreating safe and enjoyable.
I think it's going to be great because it's inevitable that people are going to use this, and to make it safer is what it's all about.
The additional lot at Causey is now open to the public. Katya Collins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still ahead in our next half hour, the fight against COVID-19 may soon take a turn. The warnings from one of the country's most trusted resources against the virus has a message for the public tonight.
And it's another giant leap for America's space program as 2 NASA astronauts complete a successful splashdown off of the coast of Florida. We have breaking news just into our Fox 13 newsroom. West Jordan police reporting an officer-involved critical incident at 7500 South, 2700 West. We do have a crew on the way to the scene to get an update from West Jordan police. We will keep you posted as soon as we learn more.
And in your national news, the U.S. continues to see more COVID-19 cases and deaths than any other country. That's all according to new numbers out today from Johns Hopkins University.
This comes as the new White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx, warns the U.S. is in a new phase of the pandemic. Meredith Wood has more.
A new phase in the fight against coronavirus. Dr. Deborah Birx offering a dire new view on America's battle against the pandemic.
What we're seeing today is different from March and April. It is extraordinarily widespread. It's into the rural as equal urban areas.
Dr. Birx's bleak outlook comes as the U.S. continues to report more cases and more deaths from coronavirus than any other country. According to the latest data from Johns Hopkins University, there are more than 4.6 million COVID-19 cases in the U.S., and more than 154,000 Americans have died from the virus. Meanwhile, a forecast published by the CDC projects the death toll could climb to 173,000 by August 22nd.
It's very frustrating as an epidemiologist to see these case numbers continuing to rise without a national strategy, without adequate testing, without contact tracing as we need it. All of the things that we've been talking about for months and months. And these numbers are going to continue to go up until we do have these things in place.
Dr. Birx says there are 20 states that she's watching very closely and that each state must tailor its response to mitigate cases.
It's not super spreading individuals, it's super spreading events, and we need to stop those. We definitely need to take more precautions.
I'm Meredith Wood reporting.
In other news, Wilford Brimley, the actor, passed away Saturday morning at a Utah hospital. His manager said he had been sick with a kidney ailment for 2 months. Brimley enjoyed a successful career on the screen, starring in movies such as The Natural and The Thing, as well as several television shows. He was a spokesperson for Quaker Oats and the American Diabetes Association. Brimley was 85 years old.
Astronauts from SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule safely back on Earth after completing their historic 2-month journey. The capsule plunged through Earth's atmosphere and deployed parachutes on Sunday. Then it splashed down off the coast of Florida. Crew members Robert Behnken and Douglas Hurley are the first astronauts NASA has sent into orbit in 9 years. They're the first humans ever to go there on a commercial spacecraft. A tropical storm strengthening in the warm waters of the Atlantic.
Those winds reaching 70 miles per hour. Nadia Romero is in Daytona Beach, Florida, as the slow-moving storm comes ashore.
The entire East Coast in the path of Isaias. It potentially brings relentless rain, wicked wind, and strong storm surge. The storm drenching parts of the Sunshine State.
I had to pull this umbrella out of the mothballs.
I didn't think that it can change very suddenly. I mean, in just a few seconds.
High winds whipping up waves.
This is one heck of an experience. But yeah, it's pretty windy down here. The waves are pretty amazing.
Already, Isaias knocked out power to tens of thousands of people. Crews from 20 states working overtime to restore service. Floridians aren't strangers to strong storms.
I've lived here since '86. This is nothing. You know, it's just going to blow right through, get a little wind, little rain, and we'll be fine tomorrow.
Instead of panicking, they're preparing. Filling sandbags, gas tanks, and grocery carts.
You get ready, enough water, enough canned food, and hope for the best.
Others evacuated to shelters adhering to COVID-safe guidelines.
Just want to make sure we can stay as safe as possible. Certainly is a double threat.
For some, watching the weather is a welcome distraction in the midst of the pandemic.
In a weird way, it's almost a sense of relief because it's somewhat normal for people who live in South Florida to have to pay attention to it.
The storm could threaten lives and destroy property as it moves up the eastern seaboard.
We're bracing for whatever comes. We want to be ready for whatever. So that's what we're focused on right now.
In Daytona Beach, Florida, I'm Nadia Romero.
Well, as they're gripping with the tropical weather, of course, we are gearing up for another hot day. I want to share a photo, though, before we go to break from Scott Taylor, looking from the Alpine Loop, Deer Creek, Heber Valley. He was up above 8,500 feet, and temperatures were still in the 90s. Where can we find a cool spot across the state? We'll find out as we look at the 7-day forecast after the break.
More than 1.4 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week.
It's the 19th straight week that more than 1 million people have applied for jobless aid. Alicia Nieves is looking into the impact this is having on people who can't afford to grocery shop.
Congress has been unable to agree on a new stimulus package, and now a key feature of the last one, the $600 a week enhanced unemployment benefit, has lapsed.
We definitely anticipate significant increases to the number of families and individuals that will begin to rely on emergency food programs more heavily as a result of the loss of this $600 additional benefit.
Zanita Tisdale was with the Food Bank for New York City. It has provided more than 30 million meals from March to April just in New York. And now, with many on unemployment losing almost 2/3 of their income, there will be an even greater need.
Our network of over 1,000 emergency food providers across 90% of the zip codes here in the city are really bracing themselves and making sure that they're already bringing in enough resources.
A study done by Feeding America shows 1 in 6 Americans could now struggle with hunger. That's 17 million more people since the start of the pandemic.
About 30 or 40% estimated clients that are coming to food banks have never called a food bank before for help.
I think the deeper we get into this economic crisis and also taking into consideration the fact that Congress is essentially late in passing new legislation, the more significant our economic challenges are going to be as a nation.
Mark Hamrick is an economic analyst with Bankrate.com, warning if Congress doesn't act to end the lapse of enhanced benefits, not only will more people go hungry, but our economy will take a more troubling hit.
The deeper we get into this lack of action on the part of elected officials, the more it exacerbates the level of uncertainty that we have. I do believe that both sides will come together.
Currently, the House's idea for a second package, the HEROES Act, was passed in May, but has been mostly ignored by the Senate. It's a $3 trillion plan that proposes extending the $600 benefit in full. Within the past week, Senate Republicans have revealed their own plan, the HEALS Act. It's a $1 trillion deal that reduces the former $600 extra weekly unemployment benefit to just $200. Both sides have to agree on a plan to move forward.
Of course, we want our elected officials to do the right thing, but we're going to be here ready and waiting.
I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
As we all get ready for children to come back to the classroom, one group out west may have a solution to a safe return for students. I'm going to show you the idea that they have coming up.
And coming up in sports, we'll continue on with another round of highlights from home, plus big NBA games with teams battling for the final playoff spot in the West. Could Damian Lillard rally the Blazers? The highlights are on the way.
Welcome back. One group thinks it's found another alternative to students in the classroom or students in front of a computer at the kitchen table.
Amanda Brandeis spoke to one group of advocates who say the way to get students safely back to school is to think outside of the classroom walls.
Hey guys!
While precautions have changed,
you're good.
The philosophy here remains the same.
Our focus on the outdoors is even more critical now than it has been.
The Child Educational Center has spent decades developing a program centered around the outdoors.
It's everything. Children are happier, they're healthier. There are statistics that say the more time they spend outside, the fewer days they're out sick.
Ellen Veslock says the program is research-based. She says learning outside is not only beneficial for kids physically, but also cognitively.
It's not just young children that do better outside. There's a whole host of research about the benefits of nature for us as adults.
The center still had to make adjustments during the pandemic, like requiring face coverings and coming up with creative solutions like individual supply bins for children.
No one knew how to manage March through June.
Some schools are now turning to the Child Care Center for advice on how to embrace outdoor learning.
One of the things they talked about was what they could help their teachers do outside. If you're reading a chapter book to second graders, why not go outside to do that?
Here's just the prime opportunity to pivot. I mean, it's a really great word because I think school districts could do some amazing things if they just reach a little bit and pivot in their thinking.
The outdoor education advocacy group Green Schoolyards America has long worked with school districts to transform asphalt-covered school grounds into park-like green spaces. They've launched a COVID-19 initiative to help schools develop cost-effective strategies to reopen outside, including online webinars, safety guidelines, and a 2-page summary for districts new to the idea.
Thinking outside the box and knowing that there's a different way to look at this.
Advocates believe the move could help heal trauma from months of isolation and learning from a screen. It would also help schools navigate social distancing requirements while reducing the chance of virus spread.
What lessons are we learning now from this pandemic that we can apply down the road?
In La Cañada, California, I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
Fox 13 News is committed to helping get students and teachers in Utah safely back to school. You can find all relevant information on our website at fox13now.com. Just click on the Safely Back to School tab.
All right, Breck Bolton in the Weather Center, and you know, we've been talking about the heat, but our eyes also to the sky, hoping for some rain eventually.
Oh my goodness, it's been a dry summer. You know, last week, we're talking over a week and a half ago, we had that monsoon flow bringing moisture short-lived with the possibility of some brief rain showers, but then we turned off that moisture and we've kept it off throughout most of the week. And then we brought up the heat, looking over the past 7 days, temperature-wise, especially towards the tail end of the week, triple digits in effect, breaking records. We're going to keep the heat wave going at least for one more day, but we need to talk about the possibility of rain. We need it, that monsoon flow. Let's see if we have a chance of that, bringing that back into the area. Right now, though, as we look in Salt Lake City, we're 89 degrees, mostly clear skies, winds calm. We look ahead, though, here we go. Long-range precipitation outlook across the state. It's looking like we're going to continue to find below situation here, or below average precipitation across the state, particularly as we look towards central into eastern Utah. But even along the Wasatch Front, I look over the next 7 days, not a good chance of seeing hardly any rain. We'll be looking at normal conditions as we look to the west coast, and more rain as we look towards the Great Lakes area. So not good news. We will see some cooler temperatures as we move throughout the week, so that is one sign of relief there. But yeah, it would really be helpful if we could get some rain. Now for tomorrow, yes, we continue to see those heat advisories, excessive heat warnings across southern Utah. Red flag warning as a reminder, as we're going to kick up the winds just a little bit throughout the afternoon. So we even need to be more vigilant and not starting any fires. If we're doing any camping, just avoid that by all costs and means, because yeah, tomorrow it will be more breezy, and it's been so hot and so dry where it's just clear skies currently. High pressure still in place for one more day. We're breaking down that high pressure, allowing for a couple of cool fronts to track through, particularly northern and central Utah, as we progress throughout the week. Let's look long range though. Again, the computer models showing you where the possibility of rain could potentially be, where as I look at that high pressure forcing most of the moisture and showers east of the state, as I move the clock going into Monday, keeping that same situation, that high pressure begins to move eastward, which at times could be beneficial in that as if it gets set up at the Four Corners area, we could turn on that monsoon flow once again. But as we go Wednesday, Thursday, you're noticing the greens with that chance of some moisture and precipitation still in those same spots, north of the state, east of the state. Not throughout the state, except Friday near the Utah-Idaho border, maybe a chance of some brief showers, but not any high likelihood, as it looks like it'll keep dry even heading into the weekend. So we've got an extended period, as it has been fairly extended here, as we'll keep this dry weather pattern going. Tomorrow, though, it's the hot and the dry and sunny conditions. Temperatures hovering near 100 degrees as we look along the Wasatch Front. So slightly cooler. We're not breaking records, but we're not seeing much relief either. Expected high in Salt Lake City, 101, 102 in Provo. We've got upper 90s as we turn towards Price, 104 in Moab. We're looking at temperatures, Century Mark in Richfield, and 107 again in St. George, where we'll see a little bit of a cool down to 101. We're going to be looking at partly cloudy skies, at least as we look towards the end of the week, but really no good chance of rain as we look over the next 7 days in St. George. Northern Utah, one day in the triple digits. We'll be close Wednesday, but all in all, we're finding 90s and even low 90s by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. Again, looking long range, we're not bringing that chance of rain, but at least we're going to get rid of these triple digits for a period of time.
The Jazz did not practice today. They played ping pong, had a tournament, in fact, during their off day in the NBA bubble. It'll be back to business tomorrow when they take on the Lakers. In their first two seeding games, the Jazz beat the Pelicans and lost to the Thunder. In the NBA today, the Celtics took on the Trailblazers. Portland started the day 2.5 games out of that final playoff spot in the West. They fell behind early, though. Jason Tatum, 3 of his 34 points. And former Boston Celtics great Paul Pierce, one of the virtual fans, loving it. Then it's Jaylen Brown ahead of the pack for the throwdown. Boston led it by 24 in the second quarter, but Damian Lillard led the Portland Trailblazers back, knocks down the deep three plus the foul. 4-point play. Then it's Lillard again. Another long-range three. He scored 30. That tied the score at 98 in the fourth. And look at Pierce now. Not feeling so great. But the Celtics held on. It's Brown with a big three in the final minute. He scored 30. The Celtics won at 128-124. The Grizzlies trying to hold on to that 8th and final playoff spot in the West. They took on the Spurs. John Morant to Brandon Clark. DeMar DeRozan made some big plays for the Spurs down the stretch, lays it in off the glass, and then he pulls this one back. It hits the jumper. He had the Spurs up 5 with 22 seconds to play. Memphis needed a 3 to tie it late. Jaren Jackson Jr. does it. Tied it at 106. The Spurs went back to DeRozan. He's fouled with 1 second to play. he did make both free throws to give him a 2-point lead. The Grizzlies needed a prayer at the buzzer. Did they get it? Nope, they did not. The Spurs won at 108-106. They're now 9th in the West, 2 games behind Memphis. We'll hear from the Jazz coming up on the Fox 13 Sports page before tomorrow's game against the Lakers, plus a look at Jazz gaming and the Bingham High School football team, how they're using safety precautions while preparing for the season. Well, it's time for you to be the star. Here's another round of highlights from home. 9-year-old Sophie Barker from Bluffdale leads it off.
Go, go! Go, Soph, go!
This is in an all-star game. She hustled around for a triple while driving in the winning run. This is Hudson Colvin on the scooter with an awesome helmet and laugh. And how about this shot from Braxton Hawks? Over the bush and in. And Layla Johnson sent this in. Summer fun with a slip and slide. Hey, if you want to be on Highlights from Home, send your videos to sports@fox13now.com. We'll be right back.
We're following breaking news out of West Jordan. Police just holding a media briefing on an officer-involved critical incident that took place at 2360 West and 7680 South. Around 8 o'clock, officers were dispatched to a person who they believed were following a stolen vehicle that belonged to one of their relatives. Now, officers were led to a Chevy truck, they were telling us. Multiple people in the truck, but those folks did not want to get out of the vehicle.
Now, we're being told at least one person did get out of that truck and that rounds were exchanged between that person and with officers. One suspect is dead. We do not know a name or age yet. And one officer is shot, that shot going to their upper shoulder area, lodged in their shoulder. We are told the injuries there are not life-threatening. We'll continue to keep you updated on this developing situation on fox13now.com and on Good Day Utah starting at 4:30 tomorrow.
Quick Cast is next. Have a good night.